What's going on, everybody? We're here to watch or not watch. We're going to talk about the latest episode of the Skeleton Crew that we just got through watching. The holidays had us watch it a couple of days late. Let's see what everybody thinks. All right, guys. So we just got through watching the latest episode of the Skeleton Crew. We'll go down the line. What do y'all think? General thoughts of the episode and the show. Go ahead, Adelia.
I really loved this episode a lot. I like that it was mostly focused on the kids. Yeah, we got some stuff with Silvo and Jod, whatever his name is, and the pirates, but it was mostly focused on the kids and the kids doing some quick thinking to get themselves back to their ship and off the planet. And I really enjoyed it a lot. I thought that it was a great episode, and the more time we spend with these kids, the more I love them, which is generally not how I am about children in media. So this has been a very pleasant surprise for me.
All right, Brandy, what'd you think?
I liked the episode. I thought the kids in this show they work well together, and I liked in this they kind of separated, and it wasn't just the girls with the boys. One of the girls went with one of the boys, so they all took different paths. But the reason was why one of them took a different path because they didn't want to tell her friend that she couldn't do something, and the one that's not really with her helped her, pretty much saved her life. I liked it. I thought it was, yeah, we got a little bit of that Jude Law's character and him trying to save his own life. But we'll see, I guess, next episode what's going to happen with him. They mostly focus on the kids, which I like that too. Short, sweet episode. I liked it.
Yeah, I mean, I really liked it. I do think that some people that just don't like because it's like not a known thing in Star Wars as far as like a lot of the characters and stuff. I think some people are sleeping on it a little bit. Like I said, I've only had like one kind of, I wasn't negative on the episode. I still liked it, but I had the one weakest episode that was a couple of episodes ago. So I just felt like it was kind of rushed. Like now that we get to this part and everything, it's like, whatever. Like I don't even remember too much about the character and stuff that I was talking about that felt like rust at that time. But this episode is just like a fun Star Wars episode. This episode's like, Luke falling down into the pit when he goes and Return of the Jedi, and then he has to fight the Rancor kind of thing. We get like a new kind of big monster thing that happens. They're trying to escape it. It's the normal like kids trying to like get out of this really bad, terrible situation. Yeah, a couple of things happen during it that like is really lucky for them or whatever. But at the same time, it was just like fun, entertaining. They didn't go too crazy with that kind of stuff. It was just like a couple little minor things that happened there. So I do think that a lot of people that's not even really giving the show a chance because like it's not getting the greatest like views and stuff so far of the Star Wars thing. Like I actually think a lot of people's missing out then because I actually do think it's one of the better things that's came out in a pretty good while. The weakest thing I'll say is because of this episode. Like, what is this episode like? Was this 5 or 6?
This was 6.
All right, so we only have 2 episodes left, which I think is good because we are getting close to what I think will be the ending. But I will say, like a weak point, and I don't mind it as long as they still execute it. We got to see the last 2 episodes, well. But I just think it's too easy to know, like really what's going to happen here. Right? We're going to have the kids. They're still trying to make it to their home planet. They're going to make it, obviously, somehow or some way. You got Jude Law's characters back with the pirates and gave them this big speech, which I thought was like a really cool scene in this episode as well. Yeah. He's going to lead the pirates there. I mean, he's got to because like that's kind of what he promised to be able to save his life. And there's going to be some kind of like clash that happens there on the planet. And, it's kind of going to be a spoiler because I may be right, maybe not, but Jude Law is going to have to make some kind of decision or whatever. And he's obviously probably going to make a decision that ends up good for the kids and probably saves their lives or whatever, whenever that occurs. So that'd be the only weak part is like, I think it is too like, you kind of already know what's going to happen. Like, yeah, predictable. But besides that, man, I really liked the episode. This might be one of my higher ones yet, just because this was old school Star Wars adventure. You know, like I was saying earlier, Jabba the Hutt's palace situation, you know, that kind of thing when they go down to the Sarlacc pit and all that kind of good stuff. So, and it was pretty fun. Like it looked good and it was done well. And like both of y'all said, the kids are really knocking it out of the park. Like doing a very good job. They're the least of my worries right now as far as anything that might go wrong with the show. Like I don't think the kids it's going to be even close to being any of the kids' fault when it comes to that at all. Period.
Yeah. I want to shout out Kiriana Cratter. I think I'm saying that right, who plays KB. I thought she did tremendously well in this episode, having to portray, you know, not being able to really move because of what was going on with her, you know, augmented parts. I thought she did really well in this episode, and like all the kids are doing fantastic. Like we've said this every week. I think the kids have just been doing fantastic, but I really thought she did really good in this episode.
Now, do you really think that she's like half human, half like droid, or does you think she's almost like pretty much like a synthetic droid? Because like
it was an accident.
No, she was a human. She was humanoid. I don't know if we call them humans in Star Wars. And then she mentioned there was an accident, and that's why she's augmented now.
Yeah, because that thing was pretty deep far in her head. That's what I'm saying. It's
Yeah.
like it's almost like she almost can't have a brain to like a actual human brain in there because of how much of they had. But maybe that's just a design thing or whatever, right? Like they trying to make something look cool, and well, it's probably not gonna make sense, but we got to do it for whatever reason. Because I'm like, man, she doesn't really have she wouldn't have much room in her head for a brain like a human brain.
She
without
wouldn't.
a lot of it being messed up.
Yeah.
A lot of this remind me of Goonies. Definitely a lot of Goonies vibes to me. Adelia, you gotta watch it. You'll understand it.
I keep hearing that Goonies in space. It's Goonies in space.
Yeah, but I think like you can even say almost pull back this reminds me of any story that you've ever watched that was a group of kids having to do something and being in some kind of danger. It might be more closely related. I see you over there shaking your head. It might be a little more closely related to like the Goonies because there is like pirates in the movie, stuff like that. But like this kind of situation with like kids doing their thing reminds me of the first like part of It, for instance, when they're having to go against a clown. A lot of similarities in that. A lot of similarities from Stand By Me, like a really old movie back in the day where the four kids are going to go see like a dead body and they run into like these things that happen, like the train and everything else. Like it just kind of fits almost every one of those kinds of styles of movies, to be honest with you. It's got like that feel to it, regardless.
Lots of Peter Pan references as well.
Yeah, it's got that
Adelia,
as well.
I need you to see the Goonies because you will understand all of the things that I'm seeing from this and the parallel with some of them going down the tube. The kids did that when they went to the pirate ship.
Yeah, but people did
coming
that
up with all the things and then getting captured. That was the.
Of course, there's similarities, but people did that in Star Wars. Like Luke Skywalker fell through tunnels like that, like a very key moment in one of the original Star Wars films. So what I'm saying is, it's like, yes, there's a lot of similarities with like the Goonies, and then they put that like in a space where there's Star Wars stuff going on. They're doing that very well. But like I said, just the feel is when I watch so people, because if you don't like scary movies, you don't know, but it's like a scary movie, but it's like 2 chapters basically. The first chapter is them all being kids. Then the second part is them being adults having to get back together because this thing came back. They thought they had defeated it when they were kids, but they had to come back as adults and actually really finish it off. That first part with those kids having to deal with the drama, having to deal with the things and traps and stuff like that they get into that they have to escape is also a lot like that. And the similarities are that most of these movies that we're talking about with those situations had really good cast, really good like child actors that was able to pull it off. Because if you watch any movie like that and the child actors aren't really doing a very good job, like the whole movie's kind of ruined.
Yeah.
Because like you go back to a movie like Stand By Me, there's like 4 of those kids and like 3 of those kids became like popular like actors, you know, throughout their teenage years and stuff like that. Like a couple of them were even, or at least one of them was
all of them
in forgetting the name, the vampire movie.
Lost Boys.
The Lost Boys, yes.
That was Corey. They're all Jerry O'Connell, Will Wheaton, River Phoenix, Corey. They were all big.
Will Wheaton wasn't that big. Come on, get out of here.
Yes, he
Like
is.
a couple episodes of some Star Trek.
People know him.
Just because it's not Star Wars, Justin, does not mean that Will
Well, it means it sucks.
very well known.
It means it sucks, Adelia. Nah, but like something that don't suck is this show. Like I'm actually like pretty hyped about it. So far, I'm very interested in seeing the last 2 episodes. I'm not gonna say this is the best thing I've seen all year, or it's at the very technically half of it's showing in the very beginning of 2025. But I won't even say it's like gonna be the best thing I'm gonna see all year this year in 2025 because there's some stuff coming out, but. It's the best thing I've seen in Star Wars in a pretty good while. Because I'll say right now it's better than the 3rd season of The Mandalorian, better than The Acolyte, better than
Book of Boba Fett.
Got it. Book of Boba Fett.
It's better than Obi-Wan.
Yep. It's like just name them off, and like this right here is one of the best. It's the best thing since Andor, I think, and we're gonna get this Andor season 2. I think it is this year.
Yeah.
Which I'm pretty hyped on. I'm not hyped about the budget if that was like a real budget for it, because oh my god, that's one of the problems. You're spending too much money on some of this stuff. But
I didn't hear anything about a budget of that. I don't know.
Yeah, the budget was like they're saying for both seasons put together it was around $600 million. It's like, bro, come on. You can't keep doing that because you're not going to be able to afford to make any more projects. Some people's like, why do you care about the budget? Well, I care because if they lose too much money, they won't make any more. Like, that's the problem. You got to put a hold on these budgets for some of these projects, for movies and for shows. But I don't know really what the budget of this show is, but it looks beautiful. It looks nice. And like I said, it just feels like Star Wars. There's a lot of it that feels like Star Wars. The only part that I didn't really care as much so far in this show was I thought the suburbia town that the kids were in, at the very beginning, like the first episode before they escaped their planet, I thought that was too much like home. You know what I'm saying? Like it felt too much like home in that particular
supposed to be
thing.
Different.
Right. But it just felt like they were in some kind of like place on Earth too much.
But it's a different place than all this other Star Wars.
Oh yeah, so this is my thing. I'll point out that's just how I personally felt, but I'm not going to go anywhere and tell people that they can't like it being in Star Wars, because it's just like those stupid hover bikes in the Book of Boba Fett. And I agree that show wasn't all that great. There was a couple episodes that was okay, but like I pushed back on these people that got mad because the hover bikes were real colorful. It's like, bro, we have a galaxy of hundreds to thousands to millions of planets, right? There's going to be a chance that one of them actually looks a lot like Earth. So my point is like, you can't really get mad about it. And I don't get mad about it. I'm just saying that it just felt it was a little weird to me the way some of the stuff looked. It was like, oh man, it's almost like we're on planet Earth in a couple.
I didn't feel that way at all.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Art is
like there's the droids, there's the fact that all the cars and everything were on tracks. Like it reminded me more of like a video game that's like a controlled simulation of something than of anything that's actually going on Earth, just because there was a suburban neighborhood with some kids running around.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree to a certain point of what you're saying in that particular spot, but my thing is, it's like I almost wish like that all the cars were kind of running on an actual track, like because like the road looked like a road, like it didn't look like something from Star Wars. It looked like a regular paved highway, like when they showed the neighborhood from overhead, and it's got like the little street in the middle. Like, but like I said, I'm not mad about it because I agree that like,
I mean, we saw something like very similar to that in Ahsoka when Sabine is escaping the ceremony in Lothal out to that tower. Like that's a very long road that she went down. Like there's roads in Star Wars. I just don't find that it's that difficult to think that would be something that exists in Star Wars.
No, I mean, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, to me, I was like, don't know what I think about the way this thing looks. I have to go back and like rewatch it again too. Like, and I probably will rewatch the series.
Well, we'll probably see it again in the next 2 episodes once the kids are home.
Yeah. But like I was saying, I'm not going to be one of these people that say, "Oh, that can't be there." Like maybe I don't have a problem with someone not really particularly caring about the feel of the color of those speeder bikes, like I was talking about. But to say they can't belong in Star Wars or this is not Star Wars is really stupid because there's so many places that are so different. And you even had the prequels where the ships and stuff were really shiny and colorful. Like, so it doesn't even like make sense with that. You know what I'm saying? So like I said, I agree that in some places they probably would have like ways, because not everything that they have in Star Wars is hover, right? There's things that they actually have wheels, like, and that kind of thing in Star Wars. So like in some ways you would have to have something for them to travel on.
Yeah. I looked it up, and the budget for the show is reportedly $136 million.
See, I don't mind that. I mean, that probably is at the top part of where you want a show to be. It's like one of the higher ones. You might want to still bring that down some, but like you can in this show, 136 million, they're doing a damn good job because I actually think it looks better than some of the Star Wars shows that we're getting that cost more.
Yeah.
If you see what I'm saying.
I agree. I think that this looks way better than the Acolyte, which had a much higher budget than this.
Oh yeah, no, it looks way
the
better.
Acolyte was 230, I want to say, and this is 136.
And there is, I'll say another thing about the show too, because a lot of times, and some of the complaints has been happening is when you have these like 8, 9, or 10 episode shows, and then you go off on like side quest or something like that. That maybe people think takes too long because it takes away from the key story and all that because you don't have a bunch of time. I'll say this: there's nothing in this show that. So even though in that one episode that I'll say is the weakest, I felt like there were certain things that was a little rushed because we couldn't like spend more time with characters and stuff like that. It kind of seemed like it happened to me a little bit too fast. Y'all disagreed, but like even with that, I didn't mind the story I was told. It was just the execution to me felt like a little rushed, right? So like there's no side stories or characters that when they go to them, I'm like, oh crap, let me go take a piss. You know, it's piss break time on this part of the story. Like, so for instance, when we did the Lord of the Rings, there were certain like character arcs that I didn't care for. It would get like super boring or whatever. I didn't really care for them. There's nothing like that in this show. Like, so when they go to Jude Law and he's sitting in front of the pirates, pretty big scene in this episode. Like, I'm enjoying all that. Like, the pirates seem interesting and fun. Now, I will say, my man from God, what is the name of that damn show? And I used to watch it all the time.
Family Matters.
Family Matters, man. Oh, gosh darn.
Steve Urkel.
Steve Urkel's. I don't know. Look, I don't care for the way he's doing his voice for this. It might just be his regular voice. I don't know if he's trying to do like an accent or if he's trying to make.
I don't think it's his regular voice.
Yeah, like I'm not loving that. That's like I don't mind his design. I don't mind what his character's doing in the show. But like for some reason, maybe y'all disagree with this too. But for some reason, man, when he talked, I was just like, "What the hell?"
No, that's not his voice. I've met him in real life. That's not his voice.
I mean, did
it
kind of hit y'all a little bit?
It's definitely a choice. It doesn't bother me all that much, but it's definitely a choice.
Yeah, I was just like, what the hell? Why is he talking like this? It just doesn't fit to me, the character that he's playing. Like that voice, if he was doing something else, like being another kind of character, but to be a ruthless pirate and just the way he was talking, it was just like, bro, you ain't intimidating nobody, son. Like, I wouldn't be scared of you for nothing. Like, what the hell? But like I said, that's just one of those things. I know you're in, like, everybody knows who he is, right? As far as an actor and stuff from like being
maybe all of us older people, maybe not the
younger people, like kids and stuff, obviously won't, but we all know him. So I get like why he might be trying to do something different, you know, and not just be his normal voice. I just don't know if I particularly care.
His voice on there wasn't really normal either. Only when he was Stefan.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. He probably should have talked like Stefan now that I think about it. You know, at least he could have been like maybe I'm not intimidating, but at least I'm more suave.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm like being suave over here. I'm like, you know, a ladies' man, but also a pirate kind of thing. I don't know. But yeah. It's not so bad though. Like Adelia said, it's not so bad that I was like, Oh shit, I can't watch the rest of the show.
Yeah, it doesn't completely take you out of it, but it's
I'm not
not the best
deducting
choice.
points. Yeah, I'm not going to
Yeah.
deduct points, but it was on my
I would.
radar. I was just like, what the hell? I wanted to ask you guys what
Yeah.
y'all think about it.
I think Bryce Dallas Howard did a fantastic job with this episode.
Mhm.
She's the director. Next week's is directed by Lee Isaac Chung, who directed episode 3 of season 3 of The Mandalorian. That's that one that was the Imperials on Coruscant trying to fit into the New Republic, but Katie O'Brien was still working for Moff Gideon. Was that episode,
Yep,
which I really enjoyed that episode.
I was going to say that's one of the stronger episodes in that season.
Yeah,
Like,
so he's director of next week's episode.
There was something about that season that, like, I watched that episode. I was getting kind of excited about a direction they might take, and then it just seemed like they took a whole different direction.
Yeah.
It was like that one episode stands out to me as like a good episode for a Star Wars show, but then the rest of the season really didn't follow up too much with anything to deal with that. And I thought that was like a really cool plot to go to. And it was like a really long episode. It was like about an hour long, if I remember correctly. I think it was definitely the longest episode of that season. And like, I thoroughly enjoyed it and was like kind of hoping that we got more into that stuff. And then it kind of like, oh, we're getting away from it. We're going to do more stuff with Bo-Katan and everything else. So it was what it was.
But I thought he did a great job with that episode, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he does with next week's episode. And Bryce Dallas Howard, she knows how to direct Star Wars. Her episodes are generally pretty good.
Yeah, I've enjoyed all of her.
It's great.
Yeah, she did a few episodes for The Mandalorian. I think like multiple seasons, a couple of episodes here and there. And like I enjoyed pretty much all her episodes that she has done so far. See, like she is a proven person. I don't know why, and this is not just about Star Wars. This is about a lot of things. But like, I don't know why we have to go and get someone like I get like you want to test. Like for instance, I would use these shows, like especially if they're a lower budget or whatever, to like throw in somebody to give them an episode or two, kind of like Bryce Howard was able to do. Like, see how it comes along, see how good she's a fit with Star Wars, and then can throw her on like a bigger project, like say like another show where she actually runs the whole show and not just a couple of episodes kind of deal. Instead of just going out and finding like sometimes in some cases like random unknowns that really hasn't even done a big project before. It's like, come on, man. Like there's a way to do certain things. I think, like I said, this episode of Star Wars felt the most like Star Wars that I've felt in a decent long time, just because everything's so spaced out and we're not getting any movies because they keep screwing that up too. But like, I think she does good. Like I would not be upset if they were like, hey, we're gonna do this particular character in Star Wars and Bryce Dallas Howard is gonna run the show. Like I think she would have did a better job running an Obi-Wan show, for instance. I think she possibly could have had a chance to knock it out of the park.
I'd agree with that. I do hope they give her some sort of bigger project to do because she really has a grasp on this universe and the material they're giving her to work with.
All right, one thing that you two girls will not have picked up on because it's for Adelia, it's not Lord of the Rings. She likes Star Wars and watches the shows, but she's not like Lord of the Rings level, like knowledge wise. And Brandi don't know Dookie. She don't know Dookie on this stuff. She's watching the shows and sometimes enjoys them, sometimes don't like them very much. But here we go. There was a point in this thing, because I don't talk a lot when we do like watch-alongs unless like there's something that comes up. Here's my thing. I don't know if I'll like it or not. If he signed on to say do some cool-ass story after this and not just, well, shit, I don't even know if his timeline, like, yeah, well, technically, I think his timeline would suit up with this a little bit. But there's a part in the episode, Home Dude's had so many names, it's hard to count. But there was a name that was thrown out tonight. Just the first name. It wasn't the last name. And one thing in particular to me is like most of his names, I think so far, as all of them had like the double name, like maybe not two names, but like I know he was called like Captain whatever one time, but I think most of the names have came with like two things together.
Are you talking about when she called him Dash?
All right, she called him Dash, and I'm not for sure, but I don't use that name if he's not going to be, and you don't have plans and a pretty good plan to be doing Dash Rendar.
Yeah, see, that's where I thought you were going with this. They said his name was Dash and something that started with a Z when that bounty hunter chick first met him in the last episode we watched.
Mm-hmm.
That's how she knew him, but nobody else knew anyone with that name when she was looking for him.
Yeah,
I get what you're saying about if you're going to use the name Dash, it should be Dash Rendar, but
because I think Jude Law's a great actor, and he could probably play like a great like character like that. And I know like Dash Rendar is like part of like the Shadows of the Empire kind of thing, and it would make sense because he's a character that didn't know he was like, you know, he was like force sensitive. I don't think he was even really truly trained too much to be like an actual Jedi, but like he could use the Force a little bit and stuff like that. But during the time period of Shadows of the Empire, I think that time period is after the old movies, so it would be in this time somewhere, possibly, if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong on that because it's been a long time, and that Shadows of the Empire was really like a story that was told. Now I know they did like comics and stuff like that with it, but it was also like a video game back in the day, like a long time ago, like Nintendo 64 time.
I'm very curious if we're ever going to find out his real name. Because I am currently of the belief that he's going to die in the finale doing whatever to save the kids.
Okay, so you think he's going to do suicide, basically, like to help save them? Not suicide,
not necessarily suicide, but sacrifice himself to save the kids. I think that might happen. Or he's going to be one of the characters from this series that ends up in whatever the next Star Wars movie is that Filoni's doing, the Mandalorian and Grogu one, because that report came out today or yesterday or something. So that he's either going to have this big grand sacrifice to save the kids, or they're going to keep using him and stuff. But I just don't know how much time Jude Law really has to commit to doing Star Wars. You know what I mean?
Maybe a lot. What else is he doing?
Yeah, actually, to be honest with you, I was surprised he even took this show, but it's not like he's out there burning up the tapes. You know what I'm saying? I don't see him in a lot of movies and stuff. Back in the day, he used to be in a crap ton of movies, and I haven't seen him in a while. And he's in some of my favorite. Like one of my favorite movies is the name is anyway. There's I don't think it's Behind Enemy Lines. It's not. But anyway, there's a movie about World War II, and he's the Russian, and then there was another great actor that played a German, and the Russian was like a big-time sniper, and he had to go up against the German big-time sniper that they sent in to try to take him out because he was too good. And great movie. It might be Behind Enemy Lines or something like that. But anyway, it's a really good movie. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, to be honest with you.
Yeah. He's in, I believe, The Young Pope, which is the series that Video Drew and Nerd Chronic talk to me about all the time, that they really enjoy. But you're probably right. He has time to do Star Wars, but like, I don't know how much he actually wants to do beyond this series.
If it's making him money, I would see him doing it.
Oh yeah, he's got my man. He's been in a bunch of stuff, bro. Because I was actually trying to look this up real quick, but he hasn't. Let's see here.
He's done a lot of TV stuff.
Yeah, he hasn't been as active since about like 2020. He only does like one or two projects, if that, like in most of those years. So yeah.
I think it would be interesting to see him survive this series and end up in the movie. I just sort of think that that's not what they are going to do.
Okay, the movie I was talking about, I had to find it. It's Enemy at the Gates.
Okay.
But it is a really good movie. Like top notch, man. It's one of my favorites, and he was definitely in that one. He was also in Repo Men, which is something fun, where they go and like repo people because in the future they have to sell their organs for money.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all might not like that, but anyway, yeah, he hasn't really done a lot though. That's the biggest key point that we're talking about here. So I think he could probably do something like that. And it's actually funny because one of his last projects, and this does have a lot of like Peter Pan references somebody brought up earlier. He was Captain Hook in 2023 in a Peter Pan and Wendy movie. So, maybe he has some influence of that.
Maybe.
Never know.
Never
With that
know.
being said, let's go through last thoughts, and we'll give out scores and grades of what we thought about the episode. Adelia.
I'd give it an 8.5. I thought this was a very enjoyable episode. It was short, but I think that for what they accomplished in this episode, it didn't need to be that much longer than it actually was. And the kids are fantastic. They're doing great. I can't wait to see what happens when they all descend on Atten soon.
Brandi.
I like the episode. I give it a 7.5.
7.5. I'm actually going higher. I'm actually going to be right in between. Number grade, I give it around an 8, which is probably around an A minus to me, because I just really had fun watching it. It was just a fun episode of television with an adventure that also, like I said, felt like Star Wars, man. You had like the creature that came out, kind of not, I wouldn't say super creative, but it is kind of creative to make like a big ass crab, basically, that came out of nowhere.
Trash crab.
Trash crab trying to get the kids and stuff. That was just kind of fun. It reminded me of like I was saying earlier, like the Rancor or the Sarlacc pit and stuff like that from old school Star Wars. And the way that they've been able to put the CG mixed in with like the realism of a lot of like actual, like, you know, not using CGI as much, you know, for like the costumes and stuff like that, the practical effects just have been done really well. Like, I would definitely be down. And I hope that like this is one of those things that like not everybody watched it when it came out, but it gets a big following, get a lot of watch time and hours after it comes out and people's able to talk about it. So I hope it hits that perfect 10 landing at the end in the last episode so that a lot more people will start talking about it, get word of mouth out there. Because so far with this show being down, I'd be super hyped. Like, I wasn't hyped for this before it came out because I didn't know a lot about it, that kind of thing. I was kind of down. I was like, oh man. But as a Star Wars fan, this is kind of lifting me back up. And if whoever, I almost said Tony Gilroy, but I know it's not it's John Watts, I think, that's running the show. Like, if Watts gets another opportunity for another show in Star Wars or even like a movie, I'm going to be super hyped about that right now because I think he's done a great job for this show for what it is. And to be honest, they promised when they did this show, a lot of people was asking questions, and I think they're hitting the nail on the head because, like I said, I brought up all those kind of stories earlier that has the kids, like the Goonies, obviously, like even you can go back to Mobster Squad or the Monster Squad.
Monster Squad.
But all those kind of movies right there kind of fit into this category. And they actually kind of promised that. They were like, we're going to do this Amblin style feel, like E.T. kind of like where you have the kids being involved in some kind of thing going on and that kind of thing. So I think they got it. I think they've done it pretty well. And whoever casted the kids, whoever made that final decision, they hit a home run.
Yeah. One last thing that I forgot to mention is I loved that when they did the whole detonation on the ship, and we've got the new look of the ship now. Whim claimsies, which made me laugh.
Yeah, that was actually kind of creative. I thought that was kind of cool. That they're basically the outer part of the ship that looked all ragged was just like a shell there to help protect it or whatever. I guess that means that now it's going to be easier to like knock out of the sky. So that might be a bad thing. It might come into play later on. But yes, they basically exploded the outer shell and was able to get out of this, like, whatever the heck that was. It was eating the ship. All right. With that being said, we're going to get out of here. Hey, guys, if you happen to watch this to the end, grab yourself a cup of coffee and join our coffee program and join the tiers. And I think it's $10 tier. You get to join us and like watch alongs and actually get to come on this show if you want to and help review the actual shows when we get done. So do all that good stuff.
ko-fi.com/LGR_network.
That's right. With that being said, may the force be with you. Until next time, Brandi's putting up the peace sign. Until next time, peace throughout the galaxy.